There used to be a buzzer. There used to be a swish of the net, the roar of the crowd. There were just two kids in the driveway, pushing boundaries, pushing limits, falling in love with the game and with each other. Love and Basketball is more than just a sports film. It is more than just a romance. It is a revolution that arrived quietly and changed our understanding of black love, female athletes, and the choices we make for dreams that consume us. What do you do when the best competition comes from someone who knows you too well? When the one you love wants to have the same fantasy that you're seeking out? When Double or Nothing isn't just about points, it's about hearts? In 2000, debut director Gina Prince-Bythewood created something Hollywood didn't often permit: a true story about two young black athletes figuring out love, family expectations, and career aspirations, not in melodramatic excess, but in those simple, truthful moments that make us human beings. Monica Wright and Quincy McCall taught us that winning isn't merely about scoreboards. It's about having someone who observes you, court vision, and all. This film arrived at the perfect moment when the WNBA was merely 4 years old, when black filmmakers were just starting to gain creative autonomy, when romance stories involving black people had a tendency to be knocked down to comedy or tragedy and nothing in between. Prince-Bythewood didn't just make a movie. She captured a phenomenon, that instant of breath-holding when love and ambition collide, when you realize that the person pushing you hardest is possibly the one who loves you best. This is the story beyond the story, how a black female director battled to claim her truth, how Sanaa Lathan went from non-baller to basketball phenom, why Omar Epps nearly quit, and why, more than 2 decades later, are we still discussing that game of one-on-one for Quincy's heart? If you've ever loved somebody who desired the same dream that you did, or if you've ever had to choose between who you are and who you love, this one's for you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, because we've got even more untold stories on the way. Hollywood, 1998. Studios were not exactly waiting in line to greenlight films about black female athletes. But Gina Prince-Bythewood wasn't seeking approval. After learning her craft in television shows like A Different World and Felicity, Prince-Bythewood wasn't simply interested in doing a directing gig, she was forced to. Monica and Quincy's tale was not fantasy for her, it was reality. Gina Prince-Bythewood. I played basketball my entire life. I was adopted into a white family, and sports were where I belonged. It was my identity. And I wanted to have a story about a female athlete who wasn't sorry about her passion. Prince-Bythewood wrote 17 drafts before she was satisfied that the script was ready. 17 chances to get the voices right, to balance out the sports and the romance, to make both of them feel as significant to the story. Because to her, they were. But the rejections came in quick succession. Studio executives couldn't look beyond their tunnel vision. Studio exec. A love story in basketball? Pick one. And a female player? Where's the audience for that? What they said: too black, too female, too risky. Enter Spike Lee. His production company, 40 Acres and a Mule, backed her vision when others wouldn't. But even with Spike's name attached, Prince-Bythewood had another battle. Casting. Casting Monica Wright wasn't simple. Prince-Bythewood needed someone who could act ferocious on the court and vulnerable off it. The search landed on Sanaa Lathan, an actress with presence, but no basketball experience. Sanaa Lathan. They did not want me. I was not a basketball player, but I fought for that role. 5 hours of training a day for months. Real basketball professionals are pushing me to my limits. I had something to prove, just like Monica. The parallels were dramatic, as Monica Lathan was trying to be heard in a world that did not believe in her. She exercised with the USC women's basketball team. She read about WNBA legends Cynthia Cooper and Lisa Leslie. She became Monica. Prince-Bythewood even hired actual basketball players to remain realistic. USC guard Nyesha Butler and prospective Los Angeles Sparks player Glenda Dickerson appear on the court during game shots, bringing real game pressure to Lathan during the scenes. Omar Epps, who had made appearances previously in Juice and Higher Learning, added natural athletic talent as Quincy. What he really added, however, was emotional intelligence, the ability to play a young black male caught between perpetuating his father's legacy and forging his own. Omar Epps. Everybody knows Quincy as this arrogant player, ladies' man. But what was fascinating to me was his vulnerability, his seeking approval from his father, his fear of abandonment. That's the essence of the character. From that opening scene, those two children on the court, Prince-Bythewood built something groundbreaking. A black girl who would not shrink herself, and a black boy vulnerable enough to still admire her for it. Their love unfolded over 4 quarters, literally divided by the structure of the film. From childhood rivalry to high school, love to college, rivalry to adult reunion. But beneath each basket, something deeper was happening. Monica wasn't playing for a scholarship or the championship. She was playing for acceptance. In a world where her mother told her, "Who's gonna want you looking like that?" Basketball wasn't a game. It was the only place where being tough, being strong, being herself was rewarded, not belittled. Alfre Woodard as Camille. "You can't be a lady and play ball like that." This wasn't just a film, a struggle for self-worth. The film handled Monica's professional dilemma with care and her one alongside. That tension between career and relationship wasn't new to Hollywood, but to get it from the perspective of a young black woman athlete? That was groundbreaking. At the same time, Quincy was suffocating under the weight of his father's NBA legacy. Dennis Haysbert's performance as Zeke McCall portrayed the conflicted hero worship of fathers and sons, and what happens when idols fall. The brilliance of Prince-Bythewood's writing was in showing how Monica and Quincy's relationship was tested because they were the same, not different, both proud, both driven, both fearful of opening up. Gina Prince-Bythewood. I wanted to depict two ambitious individuals who desire the same thing. How do you balance love when you both have the same goal? That's a universal conflict, but we don't get to see it through diverse characters very often. Their sex scenes were sexy. Not just sexy, they were groundbreaking. That one-night stand in the dorm room brought on-screen consensual intimacy between young black characters with more sensitivity than had ever previously been witnessed. It was not exploitative, it was real. Sana Lathan. That scene was torturous. We wanted to witness the awkwardness, the vulnerability of first-time sex, but also the trust between them. Omar and I worked extremely hard to make it feel real. But at the heart of the movie, what people still debate in barbershops and on Twitter threads, is the game. That one-on-one game where Monica risked everything. Double or nothing. Monica was playing for Quincy's heart, sure. But she was also playing the only way she knew how to make her point, on the basketball court. When she decides to forfeit that final point, it isn't a defeat. It was the strongest declaration. You are more important to me than my pride. In 2000, this was not entertainment. It was revolutionary to offer a black woman who opts for love and career, and a black man who eventually chooses her career ambitions. The movie made more than $27 million on an $8 million budget. Critics were divided, but audiences weren't. They saw something real that Hollywood so seldom provided. Black love without trauma, black ambition without penalty, and a black female eye behind the lens. But when the buzzer goes off and the cameras are turned off, what then? What happened to the individuals who brought Monica and Quincy to life? For in some instances, the roles that have been given to them change the actors themselves. Love and Basketball to Sana Lathan, Omar Epps, and Gina Prince-Bythewood meant more than some arbitrary credit to their resumes. It was the make or break that would establish careers, create legends, and forever change Hollywood's attitude towards black storytelling. Its impact on culture lasted far beyond when it was out. NBA player Kevin Durant called his series of sneakers KD Trey 5, partly because of Quincy's jersey number. The film was made required reading in college gender studies courses in sports and black cinema representation classes, and that line, "I've been in love with you since I was 11 and the shit won't go away," became one of the most frequently repeated expressions of love in modern cinema history. But perhaps most of all, it demonstrated to Hollywood that black narratives had broad appeal, that specificity did not kill audience connection. It intensified it. The game was not nearly over. It was only the first quarter. Sana Lathan possessed a Yale Drama School diploma, yet Hollywood made her audition with actual basketball players for Monica. The self-doubt fueled her. Sana Lathan: "I was the underdog, nobody thought I could do this, but that's the way Monica felt in the movie, so I used that." But Sana almost didn't land the job. Prince-Bythewood insisted on casting a basketball player who could act, not an actress who could play hoops. She auditioned over 700 individuals for the role. Gina Prince-Bythewood: "I just didn't believe Sana as an athlete at first, but then I saw how she worked, how she didn't give up. Her persistence sold me. She became Monica."
That transformation paid off. After Love and Basketball, Lathan's career soared with leading roles in Brown Sugar, Out of Time, and Something New, always bringing depth to characters that might have been one-dimensional in anyone else's hands. But the path was not always smooth. Even after her breakthrough role, Lathan still had to deal with the industry barriers that many Black women actresses must navigate. She's spoken publicly about being stereotyped, about fighting for pay equity, about having to prove herself repeatedly in ways that her white counterparts did not. Sana Lathan: "When Love and Basketball came out, I figured the doors would just open. They opened wider, but I still had to knock some down. I still had to fight for the roles that I wanted." In 2018, she directed an episode of HBO's Insecure herself, carrying on Prince-Bythewood's torch from actress to director. And in 2022, her Succession work proved that her range had become even deeper with the years. Omar Epps was a veteran, but Love and Basketball let out a vulnerability that was not normally afforded Black male protagonists in Hollywood. And that's Sana chemistry, not acting. Omar Epps: "Sana and I had a relationship that translated on screen. Sometimes life imitates art. Sometimes art imitates life. There was a real basis there." The two dated briefly on set, adding a sense of reality to those close-up scenes that could not be duplicated. The fans sensed it. After the film, Epps continued to ascend with 8 years on House, alongside Hugh Laurie, and critically acclaimed performances on Shooter and This Is Us. But he's often cited Quincy McCall as one of his greatest roles. Omar Epps: "Quincy showed another form of Black masculinity, tough but vulnerable. 20 years down the line, people still come to me about that character. That says a lot about the connection." For Gina Prince-Bythewood, Love and Basketball opened doors that had been long shut tight to Black women filmmakers. Gina Prince-Bythewood: "No matter what came after this film, I was still getting no after no. But now I had proof I was bringing, both at the box office and with critics." She leveraged that success into directing The Secret Life of Bees, Beyond the Lights, and, ultimately, action franchises like Netflix's The Old Guard and The Woman King, each of which brought genres that do not usually respect character, her emotional truth. What is remarkable about Prince-Bythewood's career trajectory is that she has managed to maintain her vision across different genres and budgets. From the small-town romance of Love and Basketball to the sweeping historical epic The Woman King, her interest remains in emotional truth and fully fleshed-out characters. Gina Prince-Bythewood: "After Love and Basketball, people tried to put me in a box. She makes romantic films or she makes Black films. I just make films about people that interest me. Period. And the locker room scene? That was real." Gina Prince-Bythewood: "That moment when Monica sits alone while her teammates get ready for the dance? That was me. I felt that loneliness as the only girl who liked sports and everyone else liked boys." The supporting cast brought equal authenticity. Alfre Woodard as Monica's mother, Camille, wasn't a bad character. She was a product of her generation, wanting her daughter to have options that were never open to her. It was a masterclass in showing love as misunderstanding. Alfre Woodard: "Camille loves her daughter with all her heart. She just can't see her. That's not evil. That's human. She needs Monica to have more choices than she sees a man's world has. Dennis Haysbert's introduction of Quincy's father, Zeke McCall, exposed the complex reality behind sports idols. His infidelity storyline wasn't just a plot twist. It was an exploration of how fame and admiration can corrupt, and how sons have to come to terms with their fathers as flawed men. Harry Lennox, as Monica's coach, exposed the other challenges women in sports had to overcome, providing proof of not just ability, but dedication. The soundtrack even became iconography. Maxwell's rendition of Kate Bush's "This Woman's Work" during the final game sequence was not just background music, but almost served as the emotional heartbeat of the film. Spliced with performances by Meshel Ndegeocello, Lucy Pearl, and MC Lyte, the music wasn't just chosen, it was carefully selected to establish the period as well as the emotional currents of Black love in the early 2000s. The soundtrack itself was gold, selling over 500,000 copies. Unexpected for a film that wasn't music-driven. Songs like Meshel Ndegeocello's "Fool of Me" became inextricably linked to critical emotional scenes, showing Prince-Bythewood understood music wasn't background, it was narrative. Prince-Bythewood fought for that soundtrack too. Gina Prince-Bythewood. The studio wanted more mainstream artists, but I needed music that felt real to these characters, not what would sell the most albums. That level of attention to detail, from the USC women's basketball team coming in to advise on game sequences to the period-perfect early 80s and 90s wardrobe, is the reason Love and Basketball remains fresh and other movies of that time feel out of date. The final shot, Monica achieving her WNBA dreams with Quincy and her daughter present, was more than a saccharine-sweet conclusion. It was a declaration. Women don't have to compromise on love or career. The right partner lifts your ambition rather than standing in its way. 23 years on, Love and Basketball continues to inspire filmmakers, sports people, and audiences. Before the WNBA had household names like Candace Parker and Aja Wilson, Monica Wright showed a generation of little girls they could be feminine and fierce. Before Insecure and Queen and Slim, Gina Prince-Bythewood showed Black love stories could be sophisticated, rich, and lucrative. When someone asked Issa Rae what movies inspired her, Love and Basketball was first. When Barry Jenkins was writing Moonlight's poignant scenes, he invoked Prince-Bythewood's sensitive directing. The film's DNA permeates every aspect of Black cinema today. In 2018, the Criterion Collection, that storied repository of classic films of importance, embraced Love and Basketball into its collection, forever sealing its legacy in the world of cinema. The movie's magic wasn't in melodrama or grand gestures. It was, in reality, the kind that still resonates whether you've ever had your hands on a basketball or not. It posed questions to us. What would you give up for the one you love? What would you give up for your dreams? And what do you do when those questions intersect? Gina Prince-Bythewood. I never wanted to make a sports movie or a romance. I wanted to make a movie about two people who love something and each other. That's the universal thing. Because in love, as in basketball, you've only got 4 quarters to prove you're supposed to be. And every shot counts. So now we want to hear from you. Was it the dorm room scene that caught you? The double or nothing one-on-one game for his affections? Or that final WNBA moment that proved Monica could have it all after all? Leave your favorite scene in the comments. And if you're passionate about movies that change the way we see ourselves, stories that continue to touch us decades later, don't miss the subscribe and hit the notification bell. We're only just getting started with these deep dives into the films that captured a generation.